so good to be with you right now. Yeah, so I retired, and right when I retired, I had this little thing kind of brewing inside of my heart. By the way, if you have never been to this platform, my name is Dani Johnson. I was a homeless woman 3 decades ago, long time ago. And I just retired just a few months back. And for the last, actually for 33 years, I've actually been helping people succeed wildly in the marketplace. And I've done that through various different hard lessons that I've had to learn. And one of those hard lessons was being a homeless woman and just making lots of really bad mistakes. And so I literally went from homeless to a millionaire inside of the first 2 years of being in business. And that was after actually a business failure that I had started in business 3 years prior to that and made a whole bunch of money after failing at first, made a whole bunch of money and then just lost it all and ended up homeless due to, meeting and marrying a guy that I knew for only 7 days. And after doing that, the consequences for my stupid actions resulted in the month of December being 3,000 miles away from anybody that I knew and being literally living in the back of my car and just couch surfing or sleeping in public beaches. Thank God I was in Hawaii at the time. Thank God I was not in, some city, some cold city, anywhere else in the world. Nonetheless, I started a business from the trunk of my car in a payphone booth, and I made $2,000 my first 10 hours. My first year, I made $250,000. By the end of my second year, I made my first $1 million. This all happened by the time I was 23. So our website is DaniJohnson.com. My name is Dani Johnson.com. The name of our company is Destiny Global. And so I'm here because there's a lot of stuff that's been stirring inside of the market today. And if you're one of those, like so many of us, that, is going through a lot, man, you have suffered over this last year and a half greatly. And actually, maybe you've been suffering for a long time and you're just like, when is it going to end? I've been through seasons like that. Maybe you're in that place where you are confused. You don't know where to go, who to turn to, who to listen to. Listen, you are not alone, friend. There is so much confusing information out there right now. You don't even know who to trust. Is it NBC? Is it CBS? Is it ABC? Is it Fox? Is it CNN? Is it MSNBC? And then wait, there's so many other news platforms that are out there right now. And then can we actually trust that journalists are actually doing their job? No, we can't. Everything is such a mess right now, which is creating so much confusion. And then we have the good old internet with all kinds of different things happening with that as well. Then wait, there's social media. With all kinds of crazy stuff happening with that. Our world, I think, has never been crazier, at least in the 52 years that I've been on the planet. This is the craziest that I've ever personally seen it. And people that I know that are in their 90s say this is the craziest that they have seen it in a long, long time. Those who actually went through the Depression, they would say those times were really, really crazy. And so, anyway, the point of me meeting with you tonight is that I just had a few things that have been kind of stirring inside of my spirit that I wanted to be able to share with you, that I think and I hope are going to help you break the confusion, some strategies on how you can increase your income, a focus maybe that you might want to have in this season that you're in right now so that you do not end up on the wrong side of this coin that's being flipped up in the air right now. Also tonight, I hope to kind of shed some light on areas that maybe you might want to focus in on in this current set of ridiculous circumstances that our world is currently in. This isn't just a national thing. This is a global thing that is happening. And it started with, a pandemic that is pretty severe and just seems to not stop. The craziness. In fact, I just have to say this. When all of this stuff hit, my husband said something that was profound. And my husband's name, by the way, is Hans Johnson. We have 5 children, 8 grandchildren biologically, 2 extras. Unbiologically by marriage, that we totally consider to be our grandchildren. But nonetheless, Hans Johnson, he actually is a wealth trainer. You can find him in the App Store under Wealth Builder. He has the Wealth Builder app, which is the #1 wealth building app in all of Google as well as Android. Is that how you call that thing? I think so. Not Google. That would be Apple. Whatever. Can you tell I'm a little bit of a tech tard? Anyway, but I am not retarded when it comes to finances. Not fully retarded. I'm not fully retarded when it comes to people. Just a little bit. I'm certainly not like perfect in any way, stretch or form, but I have been studying money and people for 33 years, as well as I've been studying the source of money and people for more than 33 years. So here's where we're going to go tonight. First of all, I'm going to start with prayer. I know, doesn't that sound bad? It sounds bad, doesn't it? Okay, well, please don't look at me like some religious person, because the religious thing part doesn't really gel very well with me, and I don't fit in any kind of building. But I'm just going to ask the creator of the heavens and the earth to bless you. So no matter what religion you are, if you're a Buddhist, if you're a Mormon, if you're a Catholic, if you're Protestant, whatever that is, like the Protestant thing goes to like 50 other religions, if you're Lutheran, if you're Methodist, if you're Church of Christ, whatever it is, if you're Jewish, we have clients from all over the world that are of all kinds of faith, including atheists. And so you're welcome here. So please don't go, oh no, she's going to pray and then try to figure out what my theological beliefs are. I'll tell you what it is. The whole book. That's what my theological beliefs are, not man's opinion about the book at all. I stay far away from man's opinion. I love the book. Anyway, so Father, I just ask right now, that you would bless us tonight, that you would be with us tonight. Father, I pray that you prepare our hearts, our minds, our souls to hear truth, and even more importantly, wisdom. Yeah, Father, I pray that wisdom goes forth to all of us, and that we hear your voice of wisdom, that you direct us with wisdom, because if there is something needed right now more than ever, it is wisdom. So I pray you bless all of us with wisdom tonight, and I pray that my words that are not of you just fall to the ground and produce nothing, but if there's anything that you've planted in my mouth, I pray that it multiplies in the right ears, and that there's great things that come from it. Yeah. Father, I also pray that you give all who are suffering right now peace. And even those who are suffering because they have family members that are suffering. There's so many family members that are suffering. Father, I pray that you give peace and that you bring healing where it is needed, where it is necessary. And that you bring forth your miraculous power as you've done since the day you spoke and the world was brought into existence. We ask these things in the name of Yeshua, that is Jesus the Messiah, my Messiah. Amen. Okay, so I want to stay on track with timing. Okay, so many people have been, arguing about, kind of the direction that Destiny Global has gone, a position in which that we have taken over this last half of the year. And so obviously when the pandemic hit, I was so very proud of our team. We had just hired a CEO that was a client of ours for a couple of years who had great results with the materials. And he actually had an amazing background in corporate America, something I did not have a background in. I have been an entrepreneur for 33 years, and that's very different than a corporate man or corporate woman. And so he worked with companies like Hilton. In fact, he's on the board of Hilton, built the websites for Travelocity, and oh my gosh, it's a giant list. I mean, a humongous list of gigantic websites in which that his company built, managed, maintained, as well as so many other incredible experiences. He's trained up by a billionaire, a very famous billionaire, Ross Perot, a man that I actually really, really admired many, many years ago. So nonetheless, he came on board, and it was a beautiful, wonderful thing, because here COVID hit, and we are an event company. We're a company that does events all over the world, and we've been so blessed to attract thousands and tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people through the years. And our average event, in our height prior to COVID-19 was about 1,000 people, and we would meet 9 to 12 times a year, let's say. And people flew from 20 countries, sometimes 25 countries, here to the United States to attend a live First Steps to Success or Creating a Dynasty. And there's also times that we've done 8 First Steps in Australia and in London and in Latvia. I've had the beautiful privilege of speaking all over the world, actually, which is a crazy thing as a former homeless woman who grew up in a violently abusive home to have had this kind of a career. And so we collected tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of testimonials, because we actually stopped counting 2.5 years in after starting our website, DaniJohnson.com, 10,000 unique testimonials. And that was people paying off debt, people getting better jobs, people starting a business and growing to a 6-figure income, some of them becoming millionaires. And so our website, our training materials, our entire library has helped to equip people to succeed wildly that normally would never have the chance to succeed. Even people who have failed for decades end up coming to a first steps to success and having, again, I know of one right now, failed for a decade, and then after attending first step success for a solid year straight and bringing all of his colleagues with him as well as customers with him for that entire year, he made $350,000 his very first year, where the year before he made $30,000, which he spent more than $30,000 to make the 30, which means he did not have a profit of $30,000. The $350,000 was his profit that he made just 1 year into first steps to success. Second year doing the same exact plan, went on to make his second year $750,000, and this was a kid in his 20s. Give me a break, okay? When he came to us, he was 29 years old. By the time he was 39, he had become a millionaire. Actually, way before he hit 40, he was a multimillionaire. And so the bottom line is that our materials are strategic, they work, they are as sharp as the most sharpest sword that you could imagine, that helps you to cut away all the nonsense, the BS, if you will, and get all the stuff out of the way that doesn't matter to help you, have a laser focus and like laser sharp skills in the marketplace that puts you far above everybody else that is around you. And so we've been doing this for decades. And so we hired Ken Brown, Mr. Ken Brown, the CEO of Destiny Global. He's now the CEO of Destiny Global. And that was a beautiful thing. The timing was amazing. It obvious was that it was the creator of the heavens and the earth making things happen on our behalf. And why? Because we went from a live events company to, like COVID-19 said, no flying, no staying in hotels. Like, it just completely changed our model. And thank God for Ken Brown, because he had experience. He owned a technological company. In fact, Complete IT was the name of his company that he still owns, actually. And so here he is. He's got all of the wherewithal, the ability, the experience, and the know-how to transform us into a virtual operation versus just a live in-person operation. We would have went out of business if we did not have Mr. Ken Brown for us. Not only that, but our clients who love gathering with each other, the community that's been developed from all over the world. It was almost as though it was a family reunion every 8 weeks, or actually 4 to 8 weeks, which is what our event schedule was. So here we came around. So we decided last year, no, we're doing virtual, all of that first year. And that was the plan for year 2, as far as I was requesting for it to be. And here's why. First of all, and mind you, that does not make a lot of people happy at all. It just doesn't. But I want to tell you something. In addition to what we've done in business, our focus has been with the profits helping the poor. We have helped millions and millions of people who are in severe poverty, as well as children who've been trafficked, freeing them, rescuing them out of that horribly debilitating, disgusting, evil form of slavery, and giving them a safe place to live and educating them and helping them heal. And so we've built 2,500 homes in Nicaragua and in Haiti. We've dug wells all over the world. We feed thousands and tens of thousands of orphans every single month. I'm not kidding you. From the profits, as well as my salary that I had donated for years and years and years, went to helping to take care of the poor. And so all of that would have stopped had Mr. Ken Brown did not have the ability, the skill set, the experience of transforming us into a virtual model. And so the poor has still been fed, and houses are still being built, and wells are still being dug, and kids are still being rescued out of the sex trade all over the world, and right here in the United States of America, being delivered, being rescued from the horrible life in which maybe their parents sold them into, or somebody abducted them and put them in that world. And so I'm grateful for what Mr. Brown has done. We would not have survived without him. There's no way. And neither would these kids have survived without him. And so the reason why I'm meeting with you is because I want to tell you that I am actually the one that made the decision for everything to be virtual. I'm actually the one that made the decision that for the last half of this year, that everything to go virtual. And let me tell you why. We did a test and we decided the team had decided to do a in-person First Steps to Success in April. What came out of that? One of my very best friends nearly dying from COVID-19. He literally left my house, and 2 days later, he was in a hospital fighting. Within 2 days, he had COVID. Within 2 weeks, he was in the hospital fighting for his life. For 2 solid months, my friend fought for his life, and still is working on trying to recover from that, and that's all the way back from April. So then the team decided to do another live one in July. What came out of that? Precious, wonderful clients that we love also came out with COVID, as well as almost all of our staff ended up getting it from attending that particular event. So, and mind you, my decision was, no, listen, we are not an essential business. Now, I know our clients that love meeting with each other think we're an essential business. Bottom line, we do not create orphans and widows. We help them. We do not create orphans and widows. We help them. And so my conviction from moment one was, no, we're not putting any of our staff on the road. It makes no sense. There's no reason to take that risk. Now, some people out there might think, oh, Dani Johnson, you're afraid. Where's your faith? The question I have you is, where's yours? Where's yours? Mine is in the creator of the heavens and the earth. The same God that wrote, 66 books of the Bible, the same one who put his word in man's mouth, the same one who inspired King Solomon, that wrote a passage that sticks with me, Proverbs 22:3. I'm going to read that one to you. Yeah, that a wise man, a shrewd man, sees the trouble ahead and takes cover. But the fool, the simpleton, sees the same trouble and does nothing, therefore pays the punishment for it. If your faith is not in the words of the Creator, if your faith is putting you in a place where you need a miracle versus using wisdom, where, hello, it's a mess out there. It's a mess. And the mess is taking lives. I am not afraid of COVID. I've had it twice in 6.5 months. I had it in January and I had it in September. I literally, last week, I got it September 3rd. Who did I get it from? Not from traveling, actually. I got it from my daughter. Yeah, I got it from my daughter who didn't know she had it. I actually got it from hugging my granddaughter, who the day that I hugged her, we're at a football game, and, I say, where's your mom? And she says, oh, she's got COVID. Awesome. I knew, literally that night, on my anniversary, I came down with all the symptoms. Okay, do you know that for 7.5 weeks, I couldn't breathe right, I couldn't think right? It is a serious, real thing. Our CEO was in the hospital fighting for his life. There's many people, it come to find out, as we called our clients, come to find out, there are many of them who've lost loved ones. We don't want to be a part of creating deaths, orphans and widows. We want to be a part, or widowers. We want to be a part of procuring life. We are a part of taking care of those who cannot take care of themselves. We are about helping those to succeed who cannot succeed on their own. We are about producing materials that are strategic, that help you to succeed no matter what is going on in the marketplace. That's what we do. And so whether we do that in front of a camera, or that we're being able to engage with one another as you and I are doing right now, or we do that in a live event, doesn't matter. The message and the power of the message is bigger than the meeting itself. It's bigger than the gathering in a room. Don't lose sight of what actually brings the success. Don't lose sight of what you actually need so that you can succeed in this season. Now, I know I have missed the gatherings, the whole year, the first year of COVID. Oh my gosh, I missed seeing your face. I missed hugging your neck. I missed hearing the stories. I missed sharing the tears. But at the same time, I was so grateful that we were still able to gather, albeit in our own homes. And then some people had watch parties, which I thought was a brilliant idea. Smaller groups of gathering versus, passing through so many different people through airports and airplanes, not to mention the mask mandates, which personally don't work for me. No, thank you, can't breathe. In fact, you can hear I'm starting to do this thing with my throat right now, and it's only been like 20-something minutes. So, I'm going to take a breath here. So, the bottom line is I want you to know, don't blame anybody else inside of our organization for not doing a live event. Some people said, Dani would have never made that decision. No, Dani did make that decision all by herself. I did not take a poll in our office. I didn't take a poll from the clients. It was, no, as a leader, you are a shepherd. And as a shepherd, you are to make sure that you're making decisions that are best for all. Not for the 300 that want to get together, that say they want to get together, and when it's all said and done, they actually, when it comes time to booking that plane ticket, when it comes time to actually getting on the plane, when it comes time to, they're like, oh, I just don't know. Okay, so listen. I want you to think about this, and I want you to look at business from a different perspective. Number one, don't look at it from your selfish perspective. I want you to look at business from a holistic perspective. Risk is real. Risk is real when you're trading stocks. Risk is real when you're buying a house. Risk is real when you decide to get married. Risk is real when you get pregnant. Risk is real every day that you step outside of your house. So, risk is something to always weigh. Risk versus worth. Risk versus worth. Risk versus worth. Let me tell you what I believe is needed more than anything today, more than faith today. You're like, what? Yeah, well, first of all, do you even know what the word faith actually means? Have you ever looked it up in the ancient Hebrew? Have you ever looked it up in the Greek? Do you even know what it means? It's not what you think it means. Not at all what you think it means. No, it means trustworthy. It means trustworthy. Wow, interesting. It means steadfast. Yeah, interesting. It means something that you have a conviction of. So, what do I believe is more important than faith right now? Wisdom. Wisdom. Because faith is fickle all over the place right now. People have faith in a president. They had faith in the prior president. And now that the prior president is gone, where is their faith? Woohoo! What are we gonna do? Come on, it's the same game. It's the same game every 4 years. And so the ones that have faith in their leader, when that leader leaves, now where is their faith? Listen, if you believe in this amazing, the best success book ever written, it doesn't say to have faith in a person. Your faith is supposed to be in the creator of the heavens and the earth who controls all things. No person on earth controls all things. Not me, not you. No matter how much you think you do, guess what? You don't. Stop driving yourself crazy by trying to control. You can't even control yourself, let alone anyone else. You can't even control yourself. You can't even control your own mouth. You can't even control your own thoughts. Stop trying to control other people. Why don't you just work on your own self-control? So why do I think what's more important than faith? Wisdom? I'm going to tell you why. Wisdom is a guide. Wisdom leads to humility. Wisdom leads to strength. Wisdom leads to humility. Wisdom leads to winning. Wisdom leads to wealth. Clear as day. But foolish faith leads to poverty. And I'm going to prove these things to you right now. First of all, the place that we're going to start, I want you to write this down, is Proverbs 22:3. Such a good passage. It is something I'm gnawing on over and over again. Okay, you ready? Here's what it says. It says, the shrewd man saw trouble and took cover. The simple kept going and paid the penalty. It's like this, right? You're driving down the highway and you hear the sirens, and the sirens are about to blow right past you. And you just decide you're going to like get into the left lane where the siren is coming from because you need to pass the person in front of you. Person in front of you started slowing down. And so the sirens say, there's trouble. Trouble is ahead because, hello, the ambulance or the cops, they're trying to pass you to get to the trouble that's ahead. Well, the shrewd person says, whoa, 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 there's trouble ahead. The fool, the simpleton says, I'm not letting you pass me. I'm getting in that lane. I'm going ahead. And what happens? You end up crashing your car into the, 4 or 5 cars that have already crashed. Why? Because the fool doesn't take heed to warning. The fool has no wisdom to see that there's trouble. You're like, well, Dani, I would never do that. Oh, but you probably are doing that right now. You probably are doing the exact same thing that I just explained to you. I've done these stupid things in my life. You've done stupid things in your life. So what is that? Oh, COVID schmovid. It don't mean nothing. As long as I take my vitamins, as long as I wear my shield and my mask, as long as I get these antibodies, right? If I get all these shots and I get these IVs and I get, come on, look at all the things that people have now sold. Look at all the things that were just all of a sudden created out of thin air when COVID came, right? And so if you're anything like me and some of my friends, like we're the first ones to go, okay, we need zinc. Okay, we need this. And we're the biggest swallowers of all of the vitamin pills and all of the drinks and all of the tonics and all of the, what else are the tonics? What else are the tinctures? It's a new word. Tinctures used to be tonic. Now it's tincture. Okay. All of these things. I mean, I have even, gotten an IV. I'm an anti-needle girl. I don't like needles. I feel like I'm going to throw up every time I see one. Okay, blood, needles, all that. Can't handle. And there I was. Give it to me, right? Just you should see our house we have. And guess what? We still got it. We were taking all the immune-building stuff, and then I ended up with an allergic reaction to them. Awesome. It was amazing. Even like essential oils. Yeah, since last January having COVID, I'm now allergic to lavender. Oh, I break out like you have poison oak. It's not a fun breakout. Especially when it's on your face, and we'll just stop there. Anyway, and other places that are not very fun. Anyhow, so here we go. So the shrewd man sees the trouble ahead. The fool sees it and goes, meh, I'm going to keep living my life. That's all I'm going to do. Okay, great. Okay, well, let me tell you what I think is foolish. Foolish is thinking that your life is not going to change in these current economic times. Foolishness is thinking that you won't get it. Or that, hey, I know I'm going to get it, and because I took the vaccine, I know that my symptoms won't be as bad. I have a question for you. How do you know what your symptoms would have been? Do you know? Do you know what your symptoms would have been? No. So here we have people that are running for the vaccine and some running away from the vaccine. Some are still thinking about which way they should go. I ain't going to tell you which way I have gone, but I will tell you that my mom died from having the vaccine. Complications of the vaccine, my mom died. Yeah, I retired and then my mom dies. It's been fun, real fun. In fact, there's been several deaths. There's been several. It's terrible. I mean, I cannot tell you how many text messages I get pretty much on a daily basis. Hey, can you pray for so-and-so? Hey, can you pray for so-and-so? Hey, please pray for me. My family's blah, blah. It's it is crazy. Crazy. I can't think of another time ever in my entire life where I had more people around me whose families were suffering, meaning friends of families, friends of friends. Do you understand? It's nuts. I have another friend of mine that is in the hospital fighting for his life. He had the vaccine. I believe it was back in January or February. It's when I had COVID the first time. And that that first vaccine almost killed him. Literally, he was fighting for his life. He had blood clots in his brain, his heart, his lungs. Like it's a miracle that he survived. And this is a good man who is an honorable man. He's a man that takes care of orphans. He's him and his wife, amazing family, totally like marked by God, incredible people. And yeah, he gets COVID, and then the vaccine, he got the complications, injured from the vaccine. And then here we are, a week ago, we get a text message that he was dying in a hospital, and they were putting him on a ventilator, and to please pray for him, like twice in the same year. So, and that's a vaccinated man that contracted it. And I don't, if you're saying that your symptoms would be less, I don't know. That logic, I'm having a really hard time understanding that kind of logic, because I know people who've died from the vaccine, and I know people who have gotten COVID without the vaccine. And my daughter, who had it for 2 days, and then I have it for 2 months. Okay. And same with the kids, the whole family had gotten it, and they had it for a couple of days. I know people who've had the vaccine who haven't gotten COVID, and I know people who've gotten COVID from the vaccine, and people who've died from the COVID vaccine. I know people who've died from COVID itself, not being vaccinated. So it's confusing, is it not? So my point is, why do you need wisdom? Because there's so much confusion in the land today. That's why you need wisdom. That's why you need wisdom. And wherever it is that you've pointed your faith, you might want to step back and say, where is my faith? Where do I have my faith pointed? Is my faith pointed in a leader? Is my faith pointed to a politician? Is my faith pointed to my vitamins? Is my faith pointed to my tonics and my tinctures? Is my faith pointed to prayer? My faith is not in my prayer. My faith is in the one who hears my prayer. Do you understand? My faith is not in vitamins or tinctures or oils. My faith is in the one who rules the heaven and the earth, and the one who can take my life or leave it here. And by golly, I ain't afraid of dying. I don't like suffering, but I am not afraid of dying. In fact, sign me up. I want to sleep forever. That sounds like an amazing idea. Anyway, so wisdom, faith. Listen. So the thing that started brewing in me, and I know I've just made so many of you so mad, and have fun with that. What does it profit you to be mad? What does it profit you to try to figure out what my political beliefs are? I'm still trying to figure those things out. Give me a break, man. I don't believe in our political structure. That's where I'm at. There's too much corruption everywhere. I, again, believe in a God that I serve. I believe in a book that has been written for thousands of years, that has guided my life, that helped me to go from a disastrous, suicidal mess to I've been sleeping with the same guy for 30 and a half years, 5 kids, all these grandkids. I have been blessed beyond measure. I've traveled the world. Like everything that is in this book, I have experienced his love, his character, and his spankings. I have experienced surviving and thriving because of what's in this book. So this is a book of wisdom. I highly recommend you hold this book up higher than any preacher or any so-called modern day prophet, which I don't know if there's any that are out there right now. I would hold this book and cling to it more than you cling to any spiritual teacher, leader, prophet-liar, prophesier, any of it. Why? Because if anything they're saying lines up with this book, then there's a good chance that maybe what they're saying is in this book, and the only thing that's going to stand the test of time is this book. Why? Because it's already stood the test of time. It's already stood the famines of the lands. It's already stood the plagues of the land. It has already stood all of creation. The flood, it has stood through the pharaohs of the land. It has stood through the holocausts of the land. Do you understand? It has stood through wars and wars after wars after wars. And it's stood through genocides. It has stood through all of it. And the book has gone all over the world. This is where I learned business from. This is where I learned to create wealth from. This is where I learned to solve my marriage problems from. This is where I learned how to deal with my kids during their high times and their not so high times. This is where I learned to deal with running companies and dealing with employees and customers. This is right here. So if there's something to be paying attention to, it's this. So are you studying it? Are you reading it? Well, we're going to start right here, right now. So are you the one who sees the trouble ahead and is taking cover? Not out of fear, out of wisdom. Don't mess up those two. They don't go together. They don't. Fear is an emotion. Wisdom is not an emotion. Fear is something that in 10 milliseconds, you could be flushed, peeing yourself, crying, angry, regretful. Do you understand? Those are feelings. Fear is nothing but a feeling. Wisdom is a guide. Wisdom is solid, and wisdom is rooted. And I mean rooted for thousands of years. I'm not talking about something that flies away with the wind that's blowing outside. It's solid. It's solid. Nothing moves it. It's something that stands the test of time. So the wise man takes cover. Why? Because he's wise. That's why. Sees the trouble ahead. Sees the cliff ahead. Sees the financial disaster ahead and says, better do something about this. Better not keep doing what I'm doing exactly the same way right now. Better shore up some things, okay? And then again, the simpleton just keeps going as though, yeah, I'm not going to fall off that cliff. Well, you might be heading for a cliff right now. In fact, you might be flying off of it right this minute, and you don't even realize it yet. How so? Okay, well, listen. For decades, I've been teaching people how to save money. For decades, I've been teaching people how to annihilate all of their debt in 5 to 7 years without increasing their income. For decades, we've been teaching people the strategies of creating wealth. And if you are here with me right now and you've been around for a decade with us or 2 decades and you still have debt, you could be flying off a cliff right now and not even know it. So what are we doing right now? We're focused on wisdom guiding our life. And God is the one who gives the wisdom. And so, listen, if you haven't paid off your debt and you've been like plugging in here and there on our site and you even maybe own War on Debt and you have fallen off the War on Debt wagon and you're back to eating out a few times a week. You're back to your gas station hot dogs and chips and big giant soda. If you're back to, several packs of cigarettes every week. If you're back to a bunch of soda in your house. If you're back to, watching TV and wasting time instead of using time to learn new skills so to make yourself more marketable in this very, very ever-changing world and economy that we are in right now. 10 years from now, you're not going to recognize your life. You're not. It's going to be very different. The thing my husband said when COVID-19 hit was, welcome to the new 9/11. And he was right. Welcome to the new 9/11. How so? Our world changed from 9/11. Absolutely changed. And it's never gone back to the way that it was prior to 9/11. It hasn't. It's never gone back. Every time you go through an airport, you get a, nice little molestation by TSA. You got to go through a machine that takes a picture of you naked. It's just floating around the internet. Yeah, that's what's changed. It used to be that we used to go to the gate and meet and greet our loved ones that were flying in. Not no mo, baby. Nope, never ever come back again. We're now treated like criminals whenever we fly. We are guilty until proven innocent. Yep. Every time we fly. That was not the case prior to 9/11. And guess what? What will we be facing in the future with this current new 9/11, with COVID-19, Whether you believe that it was manufactured or you believe that it wasn't, doesn't really matter. It has claimed some lives, and it has also changed policy. That right now we are facing governments, all of them, the ones that have the donkey on their shirt and the ones that have the elephant on their shirt, whichever shirt it is that you root for, Democrat, Republican, whatever, doesn't really matter. I believe they're all on the same team. And the proof is the results. I know I just offended some of you. So sorry. Do you need some warm milk? You ain't going to get it from me. Nope. Nope. It's put your big girl panties on or your big boy boxers and start to wake up and look at what is happening. So, requiring a vaccine passports, certain countries that won't let us in, certain countries that we won't let in. Hello, the world has changed. And I'll tell you what, the government never lets a good crisis go to waste. No, they're going to add hundreds of more laws right underneath the surface that we don't even, in fact, today was an election day and most people didn't do anything about it. And so all kinds of constitutional things are being changed, but we're busy with our Netflix series, our HGTV, our Pinterest, our Facebook, our Instagram, our TikToks, our YouTubes. We're so busy distracted with all that stuff that we don't even realize that we are just allowing a government to take the freedoms away. The world is changing, and the wise one sees the change that is coming. They know change is ahead. They know it's never going to go back to what it was. But the simpleton, who cares? How's it really going to affect me? No big deal. Well, let me tell you one thing that my husband and I really believe. Inflation is coming. It's already here. And our war on debt soldiers who paid off all of their debt, their mortgages, their car debt, their student loans, that they just completely focused on doing that, they don't have so much to worry about, especially those war on debt soldiers that became a client of my husband, Hans Johnson, with the Wealth Builder, and they learned how to create a freedom number. And they started working towards that with learning how to invest in various different things that they learned on their own how to invest with Hans's guidance, meaning he didn't tell them what to invest into. He taught them how to look at investments. He taught them how to make decisions with investing. And so those particular clients that really maximize first steps, creating a dynasty, they maximize their skill set, they maximize learning to create wealth, those guys are doing pretty good. And I have a message for you. You better make sure you're plugging into Hans. He's got his pulse right on the market. He does. You better make sure that you keep your skill sets sharp. The skills that are taught here at Destiny Global and DaniJohnson.com. The skill sets of time management. You see, some of you become really comfortable and you have made lots of money. And, well, shoot, you're working 9 hours a day. Yeah, something I taught you not to do. When I taught you how to reduce your time and become more efficient with your time, some of you have allowed some, new ideas to creep in, and now you're like way over the edge. You're over capacity. You're overflowing. You're biting off your dog's head, kicking the cat, screaming at the kids, not having sex with your spouse. That kind of overcapacity. You get frustrated easily. Well, get back to it. Return back to time secrets. Return back to being more valuable in your time. Return back to being a time investor instead of a time waster. For those of you who you have never encountered time secrets, I'm going to tell you something. The world has changed. And guess what? The work-at-home economy is here to stay. It's here to stay. Companies are giving up their buildings by the hundreds. They are. They're giving them up. And they tested, COVID forced everyone to test having virtual employees. And guess what? You now have to compete on a global scale, not just a national scale. So what's going to set you apart from now, 7 billion people you have to compete with? Because that's who you're competing with now. And so it might be time to focus in on sharpening skill sets. Do you have good communicative skills? Do you have sales skills? Do you have the ability to manage your time and focus with other distractions that are around you? Do you have the ability to manage a project and see the entire thing through? Do you have the ability to meet realistic deadlines or even to set realistic expectations? Because that's what the marketplace is asking for right now. Do you have the ability to solve people problems? Yeah. mad people, upset people, hostile people? Do you have that ability to do that? If you don't, you better do what it takes to learn that. There's a system on the website, job domination, time secrets, all of the communication stuff. I'm telling you, the stuff has worked for years and years and years and is still working to this day. Your skill sets need to be sharpened in those areas. And why? The world has changed. What will you do to make yourself more marketable? You better come up with something. Do you have financial skills, financial responsibility skills? What do I mean by that? Companies need that so bad right now. They need people who are conscious business-wise and will look out for the company. They need people who will do what it takes to save the company money, not spend company money. Why? There's trouble ahead. That's why. I want to go here. There is a story of where I really gleaned this from. And I started teaching this about 20 years ago. And I started telling people that there will be a time that famines are coming, and we've been through 2 of them. Famines are coming. They are cyclical. Certain industries are booming right now, and certain industries are absolutely dying. Absolutely dying. I just heard that Bank of America is closing all of their physical locations. Bank of America. What will they do? They're going to work through technology. Why? It's cheaper, easier, faster, better user interface for the customer. Customer doesn't have to deal with someone that says, we can't do that. I don't know. Please wait. No one wants to deal with that person on the phone. No one wants to deal with that person in the face-to-face. I don't know about you, but I haven't physically gone into a bank but 2 times in the last 2 years. Why? I use an app. I make my deposits through the app. I check my balances through the app. I do the transfers through the app. I even wire through an app. Crazy, right? So I do everything I possibly can through an app. Why? It's faster. I could do it at midnight if I want to. I could do it at 7 o'clock in the morning. I could do it at noon. Don't matter. I'm not waiting on a stupid phone tree to try to get a hold of somebody that you wait, and then you leave a message. Like, that's frustrating. I know you know this. So technology, I'm sorry to say, is here to stay. It's here to stay. So, I don't know. Do you have any technological skills? Would that perhaps be a good place to point your children in that direction? That they are like highly skilled in the area of technology? Maybe, I don't care if you're 50 or 60, maybe it's time to take some classes. You can do it in so many different ways on your own time. Getting yourself trained in technology that where you could put yourself out there and be competitive in the marketplace. So, this story that talks about famines. It's a story about a man named Joseph. And Joseph actually was a victim, in all reality, hated by his brothers. They sold him off as a slave, told their father that an animal killed him. He ends up as a slave, but he ends up prospering as a slave. He walked in wisdom. He honored his God. He honored his traditions. He honored his father's teachings. He ends up getting promoted to being like engineer, project manager, builder, and he prospered greatly. He then gets falsely accused, as well as the governor's wife thought he was pretty hot. He was young. He was, of a different kind, and she made some passes at him, and then she pretended like he was the one that made the pass at her. So he ends up having to go to prison, and in prison, what does he do? He prospers greatly. He uses wisdom to prosper greatly in a really bad situation as a slave and then as a convict, okay? He's in prison. In that place, he prospers. He then gets promoted to second in command of the most powerful nation in the world. What a miraculous story. I recommend that you read the story because the story shows us the cycles of money and the cycles of nations. It also shows us the cycles of people. And this is where I personally draw from that there is trouble ahead because I believe that we're in a very similar time to this time in Egypt. And so basically what Joseph did is that the Pharaoh, who is the king, the president of the nation, ends up having a dream that is bothering him. Somebody lets him know, like, hey, I know this guy, he's in prison, he can actually interpret dreams. Awesome. So he does. And then he tells him, okay, listen, yeah, so you got skinny cows, you got fat cows. Sorry, vegans. the stories about cows. Anyway, so, but eventually everyone becomes vegans for a minute. Anyway, so you have fat cows, you have skinny cows, and basically what he told them is, listen, there are 7 years of famine, and there will be 7 years of feasting. And so what I recommend that you do is during the times of the flourishing time, of the prosperity time, that we take a fifth of all the grain throughout the world, throughout the Egyptian world, and we store it. And when the famine hits, the people then will be coming to us asking for grain, and they'll be purchasing grain. So therefore, the world will not starve. We will have enough to feed everybody. But guess what they ended up doing? They ended up charging everybody. So when the people started getting hungry in the 8th and 9th year, because why? They didn't see the trouble that was ahead. They didn't. During the time of feasting, what were they doing? Feasting. Some of them gained 100 pounds. Some of them 200 pounds. Some of them during the time of plenty, okay? During the season of plenty, they were buying new cars, they were buying more houses, they were vacationing a lot. During the season of plenty, they were buying new clothes, girls were buying makeup, putting on eyelashes, like, $70 twice a week to have eyelashes sewn on their own eyelashes. They were buying wigs. You understand what I'm saying? They were buying shoes, okay? They were just going hog wild, right? Because when you're young in a season of plenty, you think it's going to last forever. You do. And so what do? You actually get a car loan. Yeah, right? So let's say that you're like 3 years into the season of plenty. You end up going, I'm going to buy myself a BMW. I'm going to buy myself a Tesla. Oh, yeah. I'm going to buy myself a crossover from the Mercedes brand. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So some of them Egyptians in our modern time, let's say that it's today. I'm just comparing the times. So that's what they did. They went and they traveled. They got a new camel car, okay? New houses. They redecorated like 5 times. Yeah, they redecorated over and over again. And because money was cheap, meaning, oh my gosh, the loans that the government was giving for housing and the interest rates being so low, it's like, dude, man, I could have everything I want right now, right? And it's year 3 in the season of plenty, and you signed yourself up for a 5-year car loan to the tune of $500 a month, and then don't forget the insurance that costs a whole lot too. Whoo! Then all of a sudden, the season changes, and it's no longer a season of plenty. But now it's a season of famine. But you aren't making the same amount of money. In fact, you might have lost your job. Or your income might have been cut. Or your hours might have been cut. Or maybe your spouse lost his job or his business started slowing down. Do you understand what I'm saying? And or your aged parents needed someone to take care of them. And they didn't save all their lives for their golden years. Because they just didn't, They just chose to drink it all, snort it all. That's what my parents did. They snorted stuff in their veins, okay? That's what my stepdad and my mom did. And so because maybe your parents, they didn't, see the trouble that was ahead. They didn't see the trouble that as they aged, that they would have aches and pains and that their medical bills would increase. Oh, but they have insurance. And does insurance cover it all? No. And does insurance cover all of the prescription medication? No. And does the insurance pay for the 24/7 help that might be needed? No. No. Right? So again, for those of us who've lived in a prosperous land, we've been living as though the prosperity is going to last forever. And so we have generations that did not plan or see the trouble ahead that, hey, I'm going to be getting older, which means I will be slowing down. I'm not going to have the same energy that I did when I was in my 20s. Oh, but here, take some vitamins. That'll fix all of that. The fool puts their faith in things that have a chance of success. But here's a good, strong guarantee. If you're doing what Joseph did in the season of plenty, and that is you are putting money away and you're not spending it. You're not adding 3 more apps on your television for entertainment. You're not Disney Plus, HBO Max, Netflix, and Amazon Prime. And wait, how many more are there? Oh, wait, you can't forget ESPN, and you also can't PN, and you also can't forget, the MMA fights, right? You can't forget all those things. And so here, the shrewd person who sees the trouble ahead goes, hold the phone. We might want to, slow down on our food intake and start putting some food away. We might want to, cut down on some sodas because they cost money and they're killing our bodies, and the bodies that are being killed are going to need medications in the future. Do you understand? See, there's two populations on the planet, and it's really sad to me, and it breaks my heart because I've been talking about this for 33 years. 98% of the population will end up dead or dead broke by the age of 65, depending on their friends, family, or federal government for their main source of income. 2% of the population, 2%, are financially independent. 2%. We're coming into a season where we're really going to see that. We're really going to see that. So the Egyptians, for 7 years of the plenty, there was the Joseph, and there was everybody else, the 2%er and the 98%ers. So Joseph takes a fifth of all the grain. When the famine hit, now here came the Egyptians, crying out to their king, hey, we have no bread. And what is said? Okay, well, give us some money and we'll sell you some grain. Whose grain was it? It was theirs, all the farmers. So now the government is selling the food back to its citizens. That was the first year. And they ran out of money. So they come back the next year and they say, we have no bread. So they say, all right, give us your cattle. So they did. They brought their animals in exchange for bread. The next year, they brought their land in exchange for bread. The next year, they gave their lives in exchange for bread. They became slaves. So in that season of famine, Pharaoh grew crazily in his wealth, while everybody went completely broke. The shrewd, the wise, the prudent sees the trouble ahead and takes cover. There's no reason why you can't be the Joseph. Now, I'm not saying to an entire nation, but I'm saying at least for your own household, right? To your own household. What does that mean? That means that if right now you're prospering, like the construction industry is prospering like crazy. People who just started a construction business prior to COVID-19 that today are millionaires. No joke. They literally have made $1 million in the same year that hotels and some banks and many other businesses have gone completely out of business, some of which will never, ever come back. Never. Why? They're not needed anymore. They're just not. The market doesn't need those services anymore. The market wants other services right now that have been birthed out of this COVID-19. So there's no reason why you can't use, which by the way, war on debt was completely birthed from this story and from our own story of spending foolishly for the first 10 years and prospering for 10 years and spent it all and a whole bunch more of the banks. With almost $1 million in debt after 10 years of making tons of money. We had car debt, we had mortgage debt, we had medical debt, we had all kinds of debt that we were carrying, and we were living paycheck to paycheck at an obscene rate of income that we had. The more that we made, the more that we spent. Well, after that horrible experience of wisdom knocking us upside the head ugly, saying, hey, check out this story, and hey, he who chases fantasies has poverty waiting for him. You see, if you actually think that money and the world isn't cyclical, you're chasing a fantasy. If you actually think that your good-paying job is going to last forever, you're chasing a fantasy. You have no control over the market. You have no control over what a business does or does not do. You have no control over that. You can do your very best to keep it alive. You can do your very best to make the customers happy. You can do your very best to make it profitable. However, but there are times where there's nothing you can do. Nothing you can do. Hotels. When COVID-19 hit, there was nothing they could do to make people come to their hotel. Nothing. What about the airlines? There was nothing they could do to make you jump on an airplane. Nothing. Okay? So, this story of Joseph, I believe we're in a similar time. And so where I want to challenge you is in this last passage. This very last passage. Actually, there's several of them, but it's in Proverbs 28. And it says, "But those who seek the Lord discern all things. Better is a poor man who lives blamelessly than a rich man whose ways are crooked." Do you have any crooked ways in front of you? Are you living in that fantasy? Are you treating people in a way that will cause them to not want to be with you, work with you? Is your attitude like in the toilet? How are you doing at work? How are you doing at home? What are you doing to make a better environment at home and at work? Because right now, your future depends on it. So either you're going to put yourself in a 98% mindset or everything is bad and it's all going to worse and screw it anyway, nothing's going to work anyhow, and you're just angry. Listen, I've had moments of being angry during this season, no doubt. Very angry at leadership, and then having to force myself to pray for leadership. Very angry, and I'm not talking about local leadership. I'm talking about global leadership, and just sad. Just downright sad. Been prepared for this time. We have. 20 years ago is when we started preparing for this time right here. 20 years ago. And because we lived according to that, put money aside, pay off all the debt, because we lived frugal with the groceries. We lived frugal in every possible way there was to live frugal. And then had money set aside as a fun budget to enjoy ourselves. And that fun budget, we stayed within that fun budget. We stayed within the food budget. We stayed within the expenses budget. And because we lived like that, here we are 20 years later, and what do we have? We're not worried about our finances. However, we are still being wise with our finances. Why? Because inflation is real. It doesn't matter how many millions of dollars you might have in the bank. The inflation that's coming, there's a wave of inflation coming. Well, if you got 2 million, it's going to be like 1 million. It might even get to 100,000. I mean, if it goes to like Germany level of inflation, it could probably go 2 million to 100,000, meaning that's how much your dollar won't be worth. And so it makes sense to hunker down. It makes sense to save like it is your full-time job. Do you understand? To save money like it's your full-time job. It makes sense to be going through your budget over and over again and killing everything that doesn't make sense to have. That's a luxury that is not needed. It makes sense to get rid of Pinterest. It makes sense to stop watching HGTV. Why? Because they tempt you into decorating your house. Because they are nothing but an infomercial for an hour every time you watch it. Or some of you binge watch HGTV. Right? So every time you're watching, it's an infomercial selling you towels and fixtures and lighting and bedding and mattresses and couches and spending money remodeling your house to the tune of, for example, I've seen it over and over again, where they'll never get that money back out of it. Right? So that's when you turn those things off. Ladies, you stop watching YouTube videos on your hair or on your makeup, because all it does is drive you to buying things you already have and that you do not need. Do you understand? So you turn off all of those temptations for why? So that you can live beautifully, comfortably, while others made the choice to be consumers, foolish consumers. You will be fine. And if you're really wise, you'll talk about it to other people. Maybe you'll hold some classes in your house called War on Debt, or virtual War on Debt classes. Maybe you'll tell people about the website, DaniJohnson.com, so that they can learn how to pay off their debt. And maybe you would hold those people accountable. Maybe as you're venturing off on this very wise plan, maybe you will become a coach. And you will coach people into financial independence so they're not dependent or try to be dependent on you. Maybe you'll become a coach and coach them in their relationships, their business, their career, managing their time, raising their kids. Maybe you'll coach them in the area of their finances. You can become a coach at DaniJohnson.com, where you'll have access to teaching the materials that have gotten results. Like that is one thing I can tell you. There's lots of different coaches out there, but whether or not they get results is a whole nother story. You can't even come close to comparing our results to the results that are out there with everybody else. You just can't. It's a complete impossibility. So if there's crooked ways in your life, crooked ways like, your budget's out of control and you're not putting money away for the future that is a disaster. Do you want to sail right through that disaster and be unscathed, or, friend, or do you want to drown under it? You don't want to drown, and you don't want to teach your kids to drown in it either. You want to be prepared. You want to be prepared as the wise man is prepared, or you will be the fool who suffers the penalty for just ignoring it. Next, he who turns a deaf ear to instruction, his prayer is an abomination. Remember earlier I said that my faith is not in my prayers. My faith is in the one who hears my prayers, and that's not a human. My faith is in the one who hears my prayers. My faith is not in my prayers. Well, if you're one that you've been sitting through this entire hour with whatever, and you're fighting the message, well, you obviously have signed yourself up to turn a deaf ear to instruction. That's what you're doing right now, turning a deaf ear to instruction. And it says that your prayers are an abomination. He who covers up his faults will not succeed. He who covers up his faults will not succeed. He who confesses and gives them up will find mercy. Right now, there's a window for mercy, and mercy is only for repentance. It's only for repentance. It's only for repentance. So, have you been covering up your faults? It's time to confess them so that mercy will be shown to you. This is all Proverbs, by the way, 28. That was verse 6, 9, 13. Here's 19. He who tills his land will have food in plenty, but he who pursues vanities will have poverty in plenty. What does that mean right now? What does that mean right now in our world right this minute? So he who tills his land, he who's working diligently, he who's working with excellence, okay, he who's working with understanding is going to have plenty, okay, will prosper. But he who chases vanities will have poverty in plenty. You might be chasing fantasies and vanities right now and not even know it. How do you know? Well, if you're in poverty, you've been chasing vanities. It's that simple. It's that simple. How do you know if you're chasing a fantasy? How do you know if you're chasing a vanity? You're in poverty. That's how you know. What does it mean to chase that? This is something I've been talking about for years, decades. Listen to me. Well, let me give you an example. We at DaniJohnson.com and Destiny Global have been teaching people to have a side hustle for 30 plus years. Yeah, 33 years I've been teaching people how to have a successful side hustle. Yeah. So that little part-time gig, so here it is. Well, let's say that right now, you're in trouble financially, okay? Or you can see the trouble ahead financially. Well, what could you do? What's a side hustle that you could actually do? Well, somebody might say, well, I could clean. Here's one. You could clean your own house instead of hiring somebody else to. Yeah. That'll save you, $100 to $400 a month right now. Pay yourself the $100 or $400 a month. And what will it do? You're going to lose weight because of all the wonderful exercise. And you won't have to overlook what your housekeeper missed. You will actually get it done and get it done right. Oh, wait, and if you have kids, you could teach them too. Rather than your kids getting chubby, yeah, the kids actually can start cleaning their house and learn that very important skill set that they will have to do for the rest of their lives and save themselves some money. Yeah. So that's one thing you could do, is that you could just knock off that housekeeping budget right there, start paying yourself, and all that money goes towards your debt. Okay? Number 2, you can start a housekeeping business. Oh, gosh. I ain't cleaning my house, Dani, and I ain't cleaning somebody else's. He who chases vanities will have plenty of poverty. You could get a part-time job at McDonald's. I'm not working at McDonald's. He who chases vanities will have plenty of poverty. You could do a home-based business. Dani, gosh, what will my friends think? He who chases vanities will have poverty and plenty. You see, you got to weigh your ego with your bank account right now, friend. You got to weigh your ego with your bank account. And if you are walking in pride and ego, you will have poverty and plenty. You will not find a solution to your financial situation. There could have been a friend that just called you about a business opportunity that was only needed on a part-time basis, and you just went, no way. Yeah, because you are chasing a vanity, that somehow you think that your job is going to last forever, that you somehow think that the market's going to be forever in your favor. It's not going to be forever in your favor. Study the markets, you'll see. Every 7 years is a giant crash. Every 7 years is some big crash. It goes like this, actually, every single day. Every single day the market goes like this. Okay, but it goes in 7-year cycles. And we're in those cycles. You got to learn, friend, how to know what season you're in. You can't change the seasons, just like you can't change a swelling wave, right? I mean, could you imagine a person in the ocean and saying, stop, don't get any bigger? Like, really? No. Like, that's not what we do. So we either do what? We either see the swell and go, all right, and we make our plan. Body surf it, right? We try to swim away from it, swim more diagonal if you don't want to be taken away. That's if you understand how to be in the ocean, or we tread water and we rise with the swell and fall with the swell, right? But we can't change it. It's like the same person who's in the water, and I don't know if you've ever noticed, but waves come in sets. They come in sets, right? Sometimes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sometimes it's just 1, 2, 3. And it's like pound, 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 right? Well, imagine the person going, stop! Get out of the water, fool. But you see, that's what's happening right now. People are just sitting around crying. You can't just cry. Get up and do something. And please don't become of those 98%ers who are just like, well, the government's paying me more money to stay home, so I'll just collect them checks. Okay, fine. If you're going to collect them checks, you better have a side hustle. You better not just be sitting on your butt doing nothing. Don't become of that population that is going to be codependent with a codependent government. Don't do that. It's not healthy. It's not building your confidence. It's not building your self-esteem. It's not making you a better man or a better woman. It's not setting a good example for your kids. You gain esteem from being productive, working diligently, working hard, working smart. That's where you gain it. If you are living on easy street right now, you don't feel good about yourself. You know your waistline has grown. You've gotten more dimples on your butt and on your thighs and on your arms. Okay? Don't do that. That's not the life that your Creator put you on this planet to live. It is also time to stop being a victim. It's that time. You see, a victim and vanities go hand in hand together. Yeah, the same boyfriend or girlfriend that you have that's saying they're going to change, they're going to stop drinking, they're going to stop doing drugs, they're going to stop spending wildly. You know, that person you're dating that you're hoping one day is going to change and you're going to get married and you're having a great life. And the only thing that's continuous to happen is you end up broke every 30 days. Quit chasing vanities. Weigh your ego with your bank account. See which one you want to grow. And you know which one is bigger based on the numbers in your balance of your balance sheet. The numbers of your bank balance tells you whether you're chasing vanities or you are chasing wisdom. So which is it going to be? You have to make that choice, and you really have to make that choice now. Don't let another day go by that you are looking for government handouts instead of looking for how you can make yourself more profitable, more marketable, more skilled. It says in Proverbs, the same book, by the way, if there was a book to be studying right now, it's the book of Proverbs. It really is. Like, dive in every single day. Chew on it. There's so much powerful financial wisdom as well as relationship wisdom inside of that book. That's where I'm burying myself right now, as well as other places in the Bible. So either you're chasing a fantasy, okay, or you're chasing wisdom. You're working hard. Wisdom says work hard and work smart. Vanities say, I'm not going to do that. No, I think everything's going to turn out just fine. Yeah, God's got me. God's got me covered, Dani Johnson. Where's your faith, Dani Johnson? I just know that God's going to take care of me. As you're collecting your welfare check, as you are collecting your unemployment check, as you're collecting all your stimulus checks, come on, friend. Think about what you are saying and think about what your actions are producing. You produce, you get ahead. You don't produce, you fall behind. Do you want to live from behind all your life? Do you want to live from behind now? No. The answer is no, you don't want to live from behind. You want to be the one that sets the trend. You want to be the one that sets the example. You want to be the one that says, hey, I know the path. Let me show you how to do it. To where you're literally coaching people how to thrive in the middle of a famine. Do you understand? Could it be that that's what you are being called to do? I think so. I want to end with this. I have found that there's a difference between a dream and a fantasy and a reality. And I have learned that in all of my years in business and all of the 52 small, short years here on the planet, that there's a big difference between all of these. How do you know if you're chasing a dream versus a fantasy? Well, you know by the fruit. You know by the fruit. So a dream is something that you will do and that doesn't have to have other people's decisions control it. A dream, for example, maybe you have a dream that's different than your husband has. I would be calling that a fantasy. Because a fantasy is something that is fun sometimes to think about, right? It'd be fun to do that. But when it gets right down to it, let's say that it causes crazy clashes inside of the marriage. Well, then I would say, is that a real dream worth? Is the value worth fighting with my spouse? Is it worth the instability in the home? Is it worth the contention and hugging the sides of the bed? Is it worth a sexless marriage? Is that really a dream? Or is that a fantasy? It could be that you're chasing a fantasy. But a dream is something you set out to do. It is something that is not dependent on the spouse. It's not something that's dependent on anybody, actually. It is something that comes together, that you make come together with your skill set, and you would recruit the help to make it happen. But it's not something that somebody else has to support. It is something that you go do and you make happen with your own hands. Okay? And then there is something called reality. And it's the reality of life. It's the reality of time. It's the reality of finances. And so when you're dreaming about something, you must consider reality. It is wise to consider reality. It's wise to consider the cost. It says it in Proverbs, that a wise man considers the cost. The fool does not. The fool just goes forward and not even considering what's the cost. What's the cost of my time? What's the cost of my energy? What's the cost of my emotions? What's the heart cost? What's the mind cost? What's the financial cost? What's the time cost? So as you're looking into side hustles, okay, evaluate what those are. And then begin to dream that one day you would have made wise choices. That one day you will be able to enjoy the fruit of your labor because you made those wise choices. If you're making foolish choices, the only thing you have now is vanities left. That's it. You got nothing but vanities left. I mean, you've got nothing but poverty left if you're chasing vanities. And what's a vanity? It's all ego-driven. It's all ego-driven. That's what a vanity is. A vanity is, this makes me look good, this makes me feel good. Yeah, the vanities of the new car during a very crazy time in economic history. I wouldn't be doing that. Okay, another reason where I said, no, we're doing it virtual. Why? It was to save our clients money. Okay, the cost of the event is the smallest cost of the entire experience. It is. The price to get into a first step success is the smallest cost. The larger cost is the airplanes, the rental cars, the hotels, and the hotel food. All of that is a much bigger cost. And so wisdom would say, Save that $1,500 in travel costs. Put it towards your wealth account. Put it towards your debt. Be wise with that money and say, thank God we still have virtual events. Thank God we have access to the material. Thank God we are able to advance our skill. Because you know what Proverbs says? Proverbs says, have you seen a skilled man? He will be put before kings and dignitaries, versus those that don't have skill will serve amongst obscure men. So the people with skill rise to the top. Okay, so you take advantage of the virtual first steps to success. You take advantage of the creating a dynasty virtual. You don't be like a 98%er and complain that we can't get together. That was designed for you to save money, fool. That was designed for you to be wise with your health, because we don't create orphans, widows, or widowers. I am not going to present an opportunity, and here's why. Because some people think we hear from God, and that because we hear from God, God said to hold a live event. No, we didn't hear that. We heard virtual. That's what we heard. Virtual on so many different levels. Convenience, save money, still get the training. Prioritize what's important in your life. Okay? Gathering is not important. It's not as important as saving money for the future economic nonsense that we can all see happening right now. Whether it's happening to you personally, like if you're in construction, you're in real estate, whoo, you are just rolling in the gold coin right now, okay? You're rolling in it. And you better be wise and do what Joseph did if you're rolling in it. And if your current economic situation is like most people around the globe, it's a mess. It's a mess, it's a mess, it's a mess. Guess what? It don't matter if you are a Jew, a Christian, a Catholic, a Baptist, a Mormon, or an atheist. All are going through the economic crisis. Do you understand? And out of the all that are going through it, those that were wise are not feeling what the ones who were not wise over the last 7 years are currently feeling. Okay? So it's about securing a better future for yourself. Be wise. Be wise. Take advantage of creating a dynasty if you qualify, which I don't, you if you're brand new here, you can't go to that anyway. Take advantage of First Steps to this. Take advantage of the life map that's on the website. Get in and dive in and learn how to manage your time so you can make yourself more valuable in your work experience. Dive in and learn the communication skills, learn the marketing skills, learn the business skills. Why? So you can make more for your time. Dive in the war on debt system so that you can get wiser financially, so you can be putting money away and still having a fun budget to where you can enjoy life where it actually really benefits you versus, like, I don't know, so much enjoyment, there's no enjoyment. So much pleasure, there's no pleasure, because that's a real thing. Dive into the job domination skills so that you can dominate the job market right now versus like being like everyone else who's like, oh, what am I going to do? Stop hanging out with those who are confused and scared, and start hanging out with the 2%ers, or those who are at least working towards 2%, who are actively, diligently, excellently doing what it takes to not end up like, the Egyptians did all those years ago, that they ended up spending all their money for bread in a famine. They ended up then giving up their cattle, their animals, then giving up their land, and then giving up their own bodies as slaves to the nation. Come on now. That's not your destiny. If you step up, you rise up, and you make a decision to do something great with your life, that choice is yours. No more victim, no more vanities. Weigh your ego with your bank account. Step up, make decisions that get results. Now, right now. If you are on a crooked path, get off. This is not the time to be consuming a huge amount of alcohol. This is not the time to be partying your life away. This is the time to be wise. And this is the time also to seek out wisdom and to follow it. Otherwise, you end up like the fool with all the poverty. Choice is yours, friend. It's yours. My hope and my prayer for 33 years has been the same. and that you make the wise choice. Make the wise choice. I'm here right now because I believe in you. I believe in you. This company exists because the company believes in you. But you got to do your part. You got to step up. You got to follow directions. You got to set yourself apart from the masses. Yeah. If Pinterest doesn't make you money, you don't do it. If YouTube doesn't make you money, you're not on it. If TikTok doesn't make you money, you're not on it. If Facebook doesn't make you money, you're not on it. Instagram doesn't make you money, you're not on it. Do what 2% does. Profit from these places. The ones that created it. Whew, are making billions of dollars off of distracting you. If watching TV does not make you money, don't do it. If trashy novels don't make you money, don't read them. You want to read something? Get a hold of materials that will make you money. Why? Make a bunch of it. Let us show you how to make it. Store it away. Reduce your debt. Live free. Live free. Live free. Don't be the borrower. Become a lender. Don't make the choices that 98%ers are making. Weigh your ego with your bank account every day, and you make the choice. So, our team, Ken Brown, the CEO, and the entire team at DaniJohnson.com and Destiny Global believes in you. Honor the decisions that are made. Honor and understand. Don't judge them or anybody for that matter. Don't judge those who've been vaccinated, and vaccinated don't judge those that are not vaccinated. That is just nothing but vanities and ego. Don't judge those who are supporters of Biden and those that are not supporters of Biden. It's not your place to judge. You are not in a position of judging anything. In fact, if you want to judge something, judge yourself. Learn to understand. People have different perspectives. Learn to be supportive. Learn to be compassionate instead of unkind and judgmental. Set yourself apart with compassion. Set yourself apart with kindness. Set yourself apart, with being open-minded and understanding other people's perspectives. Don't be so quick to point the finger unless you're pointing it at yourself. And even do that with wisdom. So, I'm in full support and agreement with Ken Brown. Our team is. It's time you are. This company is here to help you to succeed, and we have a track record of doing it, and we will continue to do it for as long as the Creator in the heavens and the earth says to do it. So you might want to take advantage of everything that's available to you right now, because you never know when it's just going to go away. You just never, ever know. I thank you so much for joining me tonight. Take action tonight. Take advantage of what's in front of you tonight. Separate yourself from the 98% and step in to mastering the 2%. I promise you will not regret it. You will not regret it. Thank you so much for your time today. God bless you. Share this video. Share this video with others. Do that. Do that. You can share this thing right this very minute. Let people rewatch it or whatever. But let the message get out so that people can start stepping in and doing what is wise. God bless you. Thanks so much. Bye.